Welcome, everyone, to the official, unofficial Eastern Washington affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I am your host, Patrick Frakes. This is Eagles Power Hour. And before we start talking a little bit of hoops, I have a quick little announcement. Eagles Power Hour is now on Instagram, so go follow that. I'm going to be making some, more short form content and shorts, clips of podcast stuff like that, quicker, more digestible stuff will all be on Instagram as well on Twitter, but follow the Instagram so you see it. And another thing, I've been working on a recruit tracker for the class 2025 football guys, and I have that now officially posted, and it is available to see on our Twitter account in our bio, um, at Eagles Hour on Twitter. It's just an Excel page. You can click on the link, and it opens an Excel sheet in your web. You can't edit it or anything, but you can go stay up to date with the Eagle recruiting. As of now, Eastern has offered 8 players in the class of 2025 class, but there's also 60, 70 other guys that have been flirted with and stuff like that, invited to junior days, came out to campus for junior days that I have on there. But it's just a great way to stay up in tune. I got the idea from Martin Heemstra, who's been doing a recruit tracker for Idaho for years now. And so, I decided to do my own for Eastern Washington. And I mean, all the information's gotten from Twitter. So, obviously it's not going to be 100% accurate, but yeah, there's some good stuff on there. I recommend go checking it out if you want to go see some of these future Eags, get excited about guys that you really want at Eastern Washington and all that. But and that's all football stuff. So, yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some basketball. Another quick note. I recorded I am recording the Idaho State reaction and recap before the WSU or Weber State game. Sorry, WSU, that's their acronym, but before the Weber State game. So, I mean, my takeaways might be similar, might be different, XYZ, but I just had some time Friday to record the Idaho State recap. So I decided to do that. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get into the women's game first. We're going to hit on that pretty quick. It was a close competitive game, and then we'll hit on the men's game. But thanks, guys, for listening. Go Eagles. Okay, your Eagle women were able to pull out a nice, gritty Big Sky win over Idaho State down in Pocatello. This was a really, really close, tough game throughout. Both teams had some stretches where they just looked horrible offensively, and then both teams had stretches where they looked amazing offensively. And it was definitely an interesting, fun game to watch. So Eastern was able to win this one by 3 points, 59-56 at the end there. Idaho State was able to pull this one within 1 point at the end there, within under 10 seconds to go. But Aaliyah Alexander hit some clutch free throws to extend it. Going through the game flow a little bit, Eastern got out to a 9-2 lead really quick, fast early in the quarter. And then they had one of their dry spells. They had a 5 or 6 minute stretch there where they only scored 2 points. It was 11-18 after the first, and then kind of the opposite happened in the second quarter. Eastern was playing some pretty good offense. They played tough defense throughout the night. But Idaho State had some flashes where they were just making shots that you typically don't see a team make like that. A lot of really tough contested threes and stuff of that nature. But it was 18-11 after one quarter, only 2 points reached in the final 5 minutes of that game. Eastern played some great defense in the second quarter. They scored 11 points. They only made 2 field goals in that second quarter. It was a really tough fought defensive performance. Once again, Eastern holding their opponent right around 55-ish points. Another nice defensive performance from them in this one. We went into the halftime down 2 to Idaho State. It was 29-27 at the half. And the third quarter was this wild defensive battle where the teams are just trading like empty possessions, trading turnovers, trading, it was kind of a weird situation where it was like one team would turn the ball over, then the other team would get the ball, go down, miss a layup at transition, then the other team would get the ball, go down, miss a shot in transition, then the other team would get the ball, turn it over, then the other team would get the ball, and then they'd finally make a shot. It was this crazy back and forth type thing. Players diving on the floor, offensive rebounds, everything, turnovers going crazy. Really entertaining, in my opinion. But, Idaho State was able to extend their lead by a point. We went into the fourth down by 3 points, and Eastern Washington just took over this fourth quarter. offensively and honestly defensively too. Idaho State was able to score their 14 points, but um, you know what what allowed Eastern to be able to build the lead at the end there was the defense. They forced a ton of turnovers in this game. Jamie Loetta absolutely took over this fourth quarter. She had 2 or 3 steals in the fourth quarter. She had a couple assists. She had some big rebounds. She made a couple of big buckets. She really exploded in this fourth quarter. Leah Alexander hit a couple of clutch shots as well. But Jamie Loetta is probably the MVP of this game, as she typically is. You know, there was some glaring problems from this game though on the Eastern side of things. We'll get into those a little bit later, but Eastern was able to pull this one off, and it was an awesome win. Idaho State's always a frisky team. They're always a team towards the top of the Big Sky. They're fifth or sixth coming in. I can't quite remember exactly, but they're always well coached. It's always good to put beat Casey Spink, who is a Spokane native down there from Idaho State, but or from Spokane down there in Idaho State, I should say. Also, Pocatello is always a tough place to win, so beating them down there, it was really, really fun to see. Yeah, this fourth quarter is one that was tough to watch to an extent of where Eastern shot extremely well in the fourth quarter. They shot 63% in this fourth quarter. Rest of the game, they didn't shoot amazing. They really didn't shoot. They made 2 threes in total in the first 3 quarters of this game. I have it written down here somewhere. Eastern only shot 31% in the first 3 quarters, and then they shot 63% in the fourth quarter. Shot it very well. Then you look at the other side of things. Idaho State only shot 33%. How are they able to score so many points? 14 points on shooting 30%. Well, we gave them so many offensive rebounds in this game, and it kind of felt like Eastern would go down, score, Idaho State would go down, miss a shot, get the offensive rebound, maybe miss another shot, get the offensive rebound. Then they would either score or miss it for a final time, then Eastern would get the ball back. And that was that whole fourth quarter, and it gave them so many extra possessions that Eastern shouldn't have been giving them. And it kind of gets me to my first game takeaway from this. Why was this one close? Because Eastern's really missing Jacinta Buckley inside. Jacinta Buckley is important defensively and on the boards inside for Eastern Washington. Eastern got out rebounded by almost 20. 43 to 26, Eastern got out rebounded by Idaho State, who isn't like a big forward heavy team. They have Bella, who's a really good forward, but it's not like they have anything special compared to some of the other Big Sky teams we play. They're a good rebounding team, but we gave up 20 offensive rebounds to them and 21 second chance points. That's almost half their points. We got to clean that up. That was almost probably around 45% of their points came on second chance buckets. And we got to be able to, chill that out, relax that out, and have the effort to go rebound. But that's kind of why we're missing Buckley a lot inside. Jacinta Buckley again missed this game with injury. I'm not sure what her status is. She's been walking around and hanging out and traveling with the team, to my understanding, but she hasn't been suiting up and she hasn't been playing. I don't know if it's something weird like a back injury or what, but Millie Knowles did play in this game after not playing against Idaho. I'm assuming it was just some sort of a minor injury, and so now she's back. She had a nice night with 8 points, but kind of getting to our next takeaway besides the rebounding. The defense played awesome in this one. Forced 23 turnovers from Idaho State. It just ridiculous. Being able to force 23 turnovers is nuts. Nicola Kita and Laura Bello, as well as Maria Diaz, they're able to force something ridiculous. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 turnovers between 3 players is insane, dude. Really good job, and a lot of those were Jamie Loetta. Jamie Loetta and Jaleesa Lawrence had a couple of nice ones, but Jamie Loetta had 5 steals in this game. Alexis Pettis had 2 steals as well, and then a steal apiece for Jada Martin, Millie Knowles, and Aaliyah Alexander. the defense really was what won this game for Eastern Washington, being able to play consistent defense throughout the game. In the first quarter, we were allowing them to get inside a little bit more than we would like, but they're playing tough defense all night, and Idaho State was hitting some tough threes, right with someone in their face, playing good defense. Their bucket stat, if I'm a coach, I'm saying, hey, they beat us on that play, whatever. Um, you know, one of their players had a really nice night off the bench. I believe it's Haley Wright. Had a very nice night off the bench for them. She had 20 points, going 4 for 5 from three. She's the player that hit a bunch of threes just with hands in her face, and it was very just surprising to see someone be able to shoot like that against Eastern. There really hasn't been anyone that got hot like that this year that I can remember. But she had 20 points. She also was 5 for 11 from the field goal. From she only made one 2-point shot, and then the rest of her points came from the free throw line. But she also had 6 rebounds. We got to be able to limit the one player, but I'd rather give up 20 points to one player and not give up 15 to 10 to 2 or 3 players or 4 players. The defensive effort was nice tonight, very good tonight, and we made every open look was tough and contested, which was great to see. Kind of my last takeaway, well, not quite last takeaway, but the offense needs to play better and more consistent, and we kind of saw that in the Idaho game where Eastern was getting their 15 to 16, 17 points per quarter, and it was consistent, and that's what we like. That's the recipe to get your 30 or your 60 to 70 points, and that's what we want to see from this Eastern team. 60, 65 points is really not the upper end, but that's about where they average. Where teams are able to jump on Eastern is when Eastern has their really bad cold spell and allows the other team to either build a lead or close the lead to a really close game. When Eastern, if they either build a lead or they're behind, it's tough for them to go on runs. There really need to be more of just a consistent threat, especially because they're not like some lights out 3 pointing team that can come back out of nowhere. So I'd really ideally, if I'm a coach, I want about 30 to 4, probably around 40% all 4 quarters, and trying to get about 15 points. And we had that for a few quarters here. We had our 40% in the second quarter, 35 in the first quarter. I mean, it wasn't great. We had kind of a long dry spell, but I mean, it could be worse. There was a few turnovers in that first quarter that weren't ideal, but this third quarter stretch of going 3 for 15, 20%, only 16% from three, shooting 6 threes when they haven't been falling all night. Even the free throw shooting wasn't great tonight either, but it's just the consistency. I'd like to see the consistency stay right around that 40 to 50%. And that's tough to do for a team that's more of a defensive first team, but I think that's where this team gets to the next level and becomes very good. Is if they can be consistent offensively, but they haven't done that quite yet this year. And we shall see if they're going to be able to do that throughout the rest of Big Sky play. One of the main contributor tonight, Jamie Luetta. Jamie Luetta is such a ball player. She played 39 out of the 40 minutes tonight. She had 15 points, 5 steals, 3 assists, as well as 7 rebounds. She was able to shoot 5 for 12, which is, very nice night. In this fourth quarter, she took over. Most of her 15 points felt like they came in the fourth quarter, as well as a lot of her steals came in the fourth quarter. She really came alive when that game was close down the stretch. She was able to build a little bit of a lead, and then Aaliyah Alexander came in and extended that lead late. But yeah, Jamie Lotto was doing everything: steals, bucket, rebounds, assists. She does everything. She's been amazing and just clutch. Love watching her. She's so exciting to watch. Aaliyah Alexander had a nice scoring night, 15 points around her average. Actually, she's been awesome scoring wise. Can't wait to watch her for the next couple of years. She's only a sophomore. Millie Knowles had 8 points. Nice performance from her. She had 3 rebounds. Not a ton else. She had a steal. 6 points for JD and Martin, but she hit a 3, which is good to see. She chilled out the shooting. She's had a few games where she just wasn't hitting the ball and she just kept launching it. And hey, I know that's what your coach is telling you usually, but sometimes it's good to see him chill chill with the field goal attempts when they're not making them, when they're not feeling it. And she had her 6 points, 2 rebounds, an assist there, as well as a steal. She played a lot of tough. She played a lot of tough defense and made it tough on players, getting her hands and faces and stuff like that. Jaleesa Lawrence made an impact away from the scoring side of things. She did have 5 points, but she was more of a rebounding threat as well as a defensive threat. She didn't have any really stats defensively, but she was making a lot of hustle plays that don't really show up on the stat sheet. Ellie Bonai had a couple nice shots. And 2 points from Alexis Pettis as well as Bella Hayes, 6 points from Ronnie. But um, other than that, it was a gritty win. It was a good win. Excited for this Eagle women team because they had a little bit of a tough stretch there with 2 losses back to back, and they're a game back in Big Sky play. But Thursday night, NAU did lose to Sacramento State, one of the bottom teams in the Big Sky. Very surprising result, which makes next week's matchup on Thursday, if everything goes to according to plan this weekend on Saturday. You guys will be hearing this after this game. I'm recording this before that game. Thursday may be a first place battle, or a battle for first place, sole possession of first place in the Big Sky with Northern Arizona. So get to Reese, guys. That's a huge game. Highly recommend you guys getting out there, cheering on this Eagle women team versus a really good NAU team. It should be a fun, high-flying, scoring game. Yeah, Eagle women had a nice win versus Idaho State. Gritty win. Always tough to play in Pocatello, but able to pull it out. Really fun to see. Okay. And then we're going to cut here and then hit on the men's matchup. Okay, and on the men's side of things, it was a very entertaining game, but maybe not the greatest defensive performance from Eastern Washington. Awesome offensive performance, awesome efficiency. 88 points was incredible, but giving up 82 to Idaho State, a team that averages right around 65 to 70 points a game, not ideal. Um, you know, there isn't a ton to break down in this game just because it kind of was a track and eat. Eastern did play decent defense in the first half, only gave up 32 points. They're playing them tough. They're making everything tough. Idaho State was able to make a couple of tough shots, but there's not a crap ton to break down. It really, Eastern was playing their game. They're playing their typical offense inside out. They had a couple of really awesome plays. Uh, you know, the first half, Eastern was able to shoot extremely well. I believe Eastern shot 64% from the field in that first half, 55% from three, 2 of which were from Ellis Magnuson, baby. Awesome to see him coming on scoring the basketball later in this year. Now that teams have played them one time around, they know, hey, Ellis Magnuson, he's not going to shoot. He doesn't like to shoot. So they've been sagging off of him into the paint. And Ellis is just pulling up and he's making shots, man. He shot well tonight, 3 for 5 from the field, 2 threes. He had 11 points, 7 assists as well. He had a very, very nice game. I love to see him coming on. All of a sudden, he's starting to drive to the hoop and go up and get fouled, and it's fun to see from Magnuson, especially coming through one of his. I think it's his last year at Eastern. So awesome. Really excited for him, especially against the Big Sky team that's probably the closest to his hometown in Boise. Eric Strip hit a couple of threes as well, which is good to see. He hit 2 threes in the first half. He's had a tougher stretch shooting the ball, and so seeing him put a couple through the net, very nice. There was an awesome highlight dunk by Lawan Watts that I'm sure you guys saw on social media already, but it was a nice back pick, cut back door. Ellis Magnuson lobbed it up to the perfect spot, and Lawan was able to put down a one-handed tomahawk jam off the alley-oop. It was awesome. Hashtag Sports Center top 10. I hope that thing gets on there. That was awesome. Being able to score 40 first half points, a very nice offensive performance, a very efficient offensive performance. Sweet. I'm happy with that. And they held Idaho State to just 32 points. I already mentioned that. And Idaho State didn't shoot particularly exceptional in the first half. They shot around 46%, 33% from three. Eastern made everything outside really tough, but they did allow a lot more inside looks than we would like to see. you know, Braden Parker and Kiri Huey both had really nice games. They're two main bigs. Huey, in particular, in this first half, he had a number of first half points and a lot of the post touches in the paint. He was able to score very well inside, and it's something that we haven't really seen a ton this year. Teams being able to attack the paint at a high clip. This Idaho and Idaho State games, both these games, there was a lot more action in the paint and inside than we have been used to seeing with the length, with Price and with Eric Strupp and with Coward defending the block down there. Hell, even Lauren Watts down there. We haven't seen a ton of teams be able to get the ball inside, but Idaho State was really kind of able to do that, which is a little concerning, but I'm not necessarily anxious about it. Um, you know, looking forward to the second half, this is where both teams, it just turned into a total track meet. Idaho State scored 50 second half points, which is just unacceptable defensively for Eastern Washington. But Eastern scored 48 points, which is excellent. Hell, they were playing pretty tough defense, and Eastern was able to get a lot of scoring inside. So really the theme of the second half was, you know, get the ball inside. Eastern went in the locker rooms up 8, and then in the second half, for whatever reason, um, Eastern just really decided the to push the paint and pressure the paint. Uh, I don't know what reason exactly, but Casey Jones took over in the second half. He had a whole bunch of. He was really the catalyst of the Eagle offense in the second half. He had 26 points in this game. Just kind of general in the second half. Uh, Eastern went 13 for 20 from inside the arc, 2-point range. Casey Jones drew a whole bunch of fouls in the second half. Eastern was able to get to the line 19 times, making 16 of them. They're really, really able to push the ball inside, scored 44 points in the paint in this game. They were able to get the ball inside consistently, score inside consistently. Casey Jones had an outstanding day. He had 3 or 4 really nice dunks, as well as he just got absolutely hacked to all hell in this one. But like I said, the defense wasn't great. 21 of ISU's 50 second half points came from 3-point land. They were able to shoot the ball pretty well in the second half. Some 63% from 3. They made 7 threes. Like this part of it is them just really shooting well, but also part of it was allowing them to get easy open looks inside as well. Most of Braden Parker's points came in the second half of his 20. Braden Parker's a good player. He had 3 assists as well and a steal. He's a really good player. He had a nutty defensive game in their last game. He had something like 5 blocks, 4 steals. And so, you know, it definitely, which is kind of why earlier I was like, I don't know why they're exactly trying to push the paint so bad, but it worked. Offensively, it worked. And being able to score 48 points is excellent. But we've got to be able to clamp down the defense a little more in the second half. That I don't necessarily know exactly what needs to change. Like it didn't seem like they, excuse me, it didn't seem like they weren't playing with effort or anything like that. But Idaho State was just making tough shots. This one got a little scary at the end. Idaho State had it at single digits most of this game, especially down towards the end. They really just able to keep up with Eastern's firepower. It was it felt like Idaho State scored every other drive when Eastern was scoring every drive. They were just making threes, the stretches of this thing. So nothing particularly concerning. You want the defense to play better, but I'd almost rather be able to score 88 points offensively with this team and just kind of hope the other team can't keep up, because I don't think most Big Sky teams have the firepower to keep up. When you look at the top teams in this league, there's only really 2 teams to me that feel like they have the firepower to keep up with that, and that's Northern Colorado and Montana. I don't know if a team like Portland State maybe, but like a team like Montana State, I don't think they have the firepower. And then as you go down, there just really isn't um, the offensive juice that you'd expect. Maybe at Weber State if Dillon Jones and company are playing very well, but I'm not too particularly insanely scared about giving up 82 points. I think a lot of this was Idaho State making tough shots. Um, you know, Braden Parker made a couple of threes, but AJ Bergen hit a couple of threes as well as Miguel Tomley. Miguel Tomley had a nice night, 10 points, 3 rebounds. Um, but yeah, I don't have a ton more to add on this one. It really was just kind of a track meet. There wasn't really any particular dry spells or any particular runs. It was just kind of back and forth, points, 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 points. And I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna hit on the eastern side of the box score. Um, Casey freaking Jones, 26 points, 3 steals, assist, 2 rebounds. He had a very nice night. He was able to get to the free throw line 13 times, make 11 free throws. He shot the ball at an extremely high clip, 7 for 9 from the field. That's typical Casey Jones, but typically we don't see that kind of scoring output from him. But man, he turned it on and he had a very nice night. Ethan Price had kind of an off night offensively shooting the ball wise, but he was still able to get his 11 points, and he got 7 rebounds in this one, as well as 4 assists. He was dishing the ball pretty well. Ellis Magnuson, like I mentioned earlier, it was awesome to see him scoring the ball the way he was. 11 points in this one. He had a steal, as well as his 7 assists. He had 3 turnovers in this one, which isn't exactly ideal. Again, Eastern score turnover. I didn't say, excuse me, word mouth fart, but Eastern turned the ball over 14 times in this one, which again, it's right around Eastern's average, which isn't great, but I'll take 88 points with 14 turnovers any day. Personally, I would rather score the 88 points to turn the ball over 14 times. I'm sure a coach isn't necessarily saying that, but I'm not particularly anxious about it tonight. Do I worry about it? Yes. Do I want that to be cleaned up in the future? Yes. But I'll take the 88 points and shooting 60% through this one. The efficiency in this game was absolutely ridiculous. 64% from the field, 58% from 3, 82% from the field goal. From the line, 44 points in the paint. Really just awesome offensive performance. This is Eagle offensive basketball. This is efficiency. They only shot the ball 48 times to Idaho State's 52, with very, very typical Eastern basketball. And I like it. Hitting on Cedric Howard, he had 10 points and 9 rebounds. He was doing everything. He had another nice dunk to really cap this one off at the end there. This was only 1 turnover, 2 assists. Jake Kyman had a couple of nice buckets. He only scored 7 points in this one, but he didn't do a ton. He had an assist. He hit a couple shots late, but he didn't do an absolute ton in this one. Juan Watts, again, he had his highlight dunk. He shot 80% from the field, most of it just being stuff right inside there. 1 for 2 from the free throw line. He had his 9 points. He also had an assist and a steal. Dan Erikstrup had 8 points. He made 2 threes, as well as 1 field goal. He actually fouled out of this one, but he did have a steal and an assist as well. Sebastian Hartman hit a couple of nice layups as well. Man, he's one of those guys where sometimes he catches the ball and shoots it all in one motion, like down underneath the basket, and it's really I don't know, it's just an interesting style. But he played his typical really nice defense and always being in the right place at the right time. But yeah, that's really all we got for this one. Again, recording this before the Weber State game, so I don't know how that one turned out. But feeling optimistic about that game. Holy crap! Watching, I was at the game in Moscow, where Weber State beat Idaho, and Idaho was up in that game by 7 points with just a minute left. I'm just hoping this Eagle offense can limit the turnovers in that game. So but yeah, on to the Weber State segment, guys. I will catch you guys in a few days from recording this one. But go Eagles. Okay, so Saturday, the Eastern women were able to pull out a very dominant win over the Weber State Wildcats. There's not a ton to break down here because this game wasn't very close. Most of it, the first quarter was pretty competitive. It was kind of a back and forth offensive showing. Both teams shot very well. And then in the second quarter, the Eagle defense was really able to clamp down. They forced a ton of turnovers, and the Eagle offense just got real hot. Shot something insane, like 60% from the field. I'm gonna pull up the stats here for you guys. The women's game here. So in the first quarter, Eastern shot, just under 60%, 50% from 3. And I mean, so did Weber State. They shot 42%, 50% from 3. They were just down by 2 points at the end of the first quarter. Then the second quarter, Eastern really buckled down the defense and played some really solid offense as well. Shot 41% in that second quarter, 4 for 8 from three. Hit a couple really big threes there, and held Weber State to just 2 or 4 points in that entire second quarter, um, forcing them to shoot 18% from the field, 0% from three. Very, very nice second quarter. Eagles were able to build a nice, 15, 16 point lead. And then they didn't really let it back up until in the fourth quarter. Weber State Eastern hit one of their, typical really bad dry spells offensively. And Weber State went on a little bit of a run that first 5 minutes of the first quarter. They brought it to single digits, but then Eastern got hot again in that second half of the fourth quarter and was able to put this one away. This one was really just dominant. Eastern was the better team. Eastern was the better team offensively and defensively. Eastern was able to force a ton of turnovers defensively. Weber State turned the ball over 21 times. Eastern was able to steal the ball a crap ton, 11 times. Jamie Luetta had some big ones down the stretch. Jaleesa Lawrence had 3 steals as well. Alexis Pettis with 2, and then almost everyone else just had a single steal. Very nice performance defensively for these guys. Um, like I said, there's not a ton to break down just because Eastern really dominated this one. Just going over some basic box score stuff. Jamie Luetta, and I got to step on a soapbox here. When is the Jamie Luetta Big Guy MVP train going to start? Because she has been everything for this team. She's top 5 in scoring. She's top 5 in the conference in rebounding. She's top 5 in the conference in assists. She's top 5 in the conference in steals. She's top 5 in the conference in minutes. I think she's like 2 or 3 in the conference in minutes. She's doing everything from the guard spot. The only category she's not top 5 in really is scoring wise, scoring points and all that. My thing is she's been stepping up the scoring lately, and I think Jamie Luetta should be the front runner for the league MVP, especially if Eastern wins the conference. If not, it's probably going to go to Sophie Glancy of Northern Arizona, who's leading the conference in scoring right now. But just had to go on a little bit of a soapbox there. A little bit of a cut a little promo there for Jamie Luetta. Jaleesa Lawrence had a nice night as well. Jamie Luetta had 21 points, 1 steal. She had 8 assists as well as 4 rebounds. She had some awesome assists, no-look assists and stuff like that. Typical Jamie Luetta stuff. Jaleesa Lawrence had her 17 points, 3 steals. She also had 3 rebounds. She made a lot of hustle plays in this one. Typical Jaleesa Lawrence, always hustling to the ball. Great defender, and really fun to watch her play. Aaliyah Alexander had her 15 points. Typical Aaliyah Alexander night. Shot the ball well. 4 rebounds as well as a steal for Aaliyah Alexander. Jadea Martin had a solid game offensively. She had 5 points, but she hit her 3, and she hit also a couple of free throws. She's had her struggles offensively, but she plays her great defense. She rebounded the ball relatively well, and she had overall solid game in my opinion. Millie Knowles had again a solid game. She had 8 rebounds, she had 2 assists, she had a steal, 4 points. And then Alexis Pettis had 8 points off the bench. Really nice to have her scoring off the bench. She hit 2 threes and also had a couple steals. Nice, 3-and-D type night for her. And then 2 points also from Ellie Bonai and I think it's Bree Schuler. I can't remember how to pronounce her first name, but just dominant win for the Eagle women. They had a very consistent first 3 quarters. They're shooting amazing, 60% from the field goal range, 60% from the floor in the first quarter, 41% in the second quarter. This is about what we want. This 40%, 15 points. They had 21 points in this quarter actually, but we want that about 40%, and they actually shot amazing in this third quarter, 72%. But the fourth quarter, they hit their dry spell, and there's their 25%, 20%. Which is, not ideal, but it's okay. They had the big enough lead that they could survive that. But Weber State did get it to within single digits after Eastern led by as much as something like 20 points. But then Eastern went on their run and was able to extend it back to 20 points. And that's something that Jamie Luetta has been so good at, is taking over games in those final minutes to really go put her team on her back and make the plays. She had a steal late and had a couple of buckets late and an assist late that were all just game changers, and they just really put the dagger in for this game. Awesome performance for Jamie. Again, like I said, she should be getting looks for Big Sky MVP for sure. at least Defensive Player of the Year once again. Um, Points off turnovers was huge in this game. 27 points off turnovers for Eastern Washington to Weber State's just 12. Weber State turned the ball over 21 times, as I mentioned earlier. The rebounding mark, everything else really in this game was pretty even besides the shooting percentages. But hell, Weaver didn't necessarily shoot the ball horrible. They're just under 40%. They're 50% from three. They didn't shoot the ball horrible. They just turned the ball over a ton. And that's what Eastern's been awesome at, forcing those turnovers all year. Um, you know, Very, very good showing for the Eagle women defensively. Again, holding their opponent to right around 55 points. That's what they've been doing all year. Great stuff from the Eagle women. Looking at the standings here, Eastern Washington is now tied with Northern Arizona for first place, meaning Thursday, Northern Arizona is coming up to Cheney. This is becoming a game for de facto conference championship-ish type game. Obviously, there's games still to be played, but these two teams have been the far and away two best teams in the Big Sky this year. And the winner of this one has control of their own destiny for the one seed in the Big Sky tournament and the regular season Big Sky championship. So a really big one up there in Reese at on Thursday. This one starts at 6 p.m. I believe. Definitely recommend people getting out there if you're in the Cheney area, Spokane area. You got to support these women because this is a big one. This is kind of a de facto Big Sky regular season championship. Again, if everything goes to plan. But this should be a really fun one. NAU pulled out the first one. This was one of the first games that Jacinta Buckley missed was in this NAU game down in Flagstaff that Eastern lost right at the end. Just wasn't able to pull it out in overtime. But it should be a fun one. Really love to see Jacinta Buckley back for this one, but we will see. Will be a huge Big Sky matchup on the women's side of things. Then we're going to transition over to the men's side of things versus Weber State. Unfortunately, Eastern Washington took its second conference loss of the season to Weber State. They lost this one 90-84. Here is the box score here. This was a track meet, man, but this first half wasn't necessarily as much of a track meet. Really, what happened in this one is the first 5-10 minutes, 5-ish minutes of the game, 5 to 8 minutes, Eastern's offense was running fine, running your typical efficient offense. They had a nice lead, like a 5 or 6 point lead, and then Eastern just had a cold spell from outside. And this correlated with something that Weber State was doing defensively that was really interesting. So they just were not guarding Ellis Magnuson on the perimeter, Sebastian Hartman on the perimeter, and LaRon Watts on the perimeter. So when Magnuson was in the game, if he would dribble the ball down the court, they would put one of their posts on Magnuson, manned up on Magnuson, but their post was playing basically at the restricted area arc. They were not guarding Ellis Magnuson at all on the three-point line. They were just daring him to shoot, and he only shot the ball 2 or 3 times. It was glaring, obviously, and it really affected this team because Easton relies a ton on backdoor cuts and stuff like that. That when Ellis is on the floor, he's such a great feeder back there, but when there's his man is defending him, it just closed up the paint and made it very tough in the first half, especially for Eastern Washington to be able to get any points because the shots outside weren't hitting. Um, it was kind of I believe Eastern went 1 for 12 in this first half from three. And while that was happening, 8% from three for Eastern Washington in this first half, 35% from the field, tons and tons of missed inside opportunities, just dumb inside, just forcing up shots that weren't really there and situations like that unfortunately led to Eastern just falling behind in this one, and Weber State was just absolutely lights out offensively. Could the defensive effort been a little bit better from Eastern? Of course, it could have been better. Giving up 90 points is never acceptable. That is not good. But Weber State hit a ton of tough looks. Eastern wasn't necessarily playing horrible defense. There was a few times where like Cedric Howard missed a few rotations by, a beat of a second. Still got a hand in the shooter's face. Like it's not like these guys were shooting wide open looks all day. There was a few. They probably scored 15-ish points off of wide open looks, but the rest of it, dude, was all contested looks, making 3-pointers in people's faces. Dillon Jones for Weber State had 30 points. A lot of it was him one-on-one making plays, posting up guys and shooting fadeaway jumpers, as well as, acrobatic plays at the rim and stuff like that. So I'm not angry at the defensive effort necessarily. I'm not angry at anyone. It's a really tough loss, but sometimes the other team's just better. And tonight, Weber State was just better in this game. Weber State shot an astounding 50% from the field and 54% from three, going 13 for 24. In the first half, when they built their lead, they shot 8 for 15 from three, which is 53%. 51% from the field, 15 for 29. They shot outstanding in this first half. Eastern just didn't shoot well, and it allowed Weber State to build a nice lead. They were up 11 at halftime. In the second half, they were able to extend their lead all the way up to 17 points. And then this Eastern team fought back. Eastern was able to bring this game back to a tie ball game at, I believe it was 78 or 80 apiece. It was roughly halfway through the second half. I can't quite remember exactly. Very, very awesome comeback. Eastern played an amazing second half, but they just could not get the stops down the stretch that they needed. They couldn't get the big bucket they needed at the end when the game was tied, and unfortunately, Weber State pulled this one out. But man, the fact that Eastern was able to bring this thing within 6 points when they shot so poorly in this first half, and when they were down by 11 points at halftime, really goes to show, one, the culture of this team. They're never going to give up. Two, the freaking offensive firepower. Eastern really caught fire in that early second half ish, like mid second half. The early second half wasn't great. Weber State was able to extend a lead. We had some weird technical foul situations and stuff like that allowed them to build a pretty big lead, a couple of 5-point swings. But the fact that Eastern was able to come back in this one was astounding. Eastern shot 8 for 15 from three in the second half, which is right around, not average necessarily, but kind of what we expect at home for this Eagle team. They've typically shot about 50% from three, which is, again, very insane, ridiculous. It's a lot of buckets and a lot of points. But that's been what this Eastern team has done all year from the 3-point line at home. In this first half, going 1 for 12 was just killer. Kynan hit an early three, and then they just could not hit another one the rest of that first half. And it was frustrating because they weren't guarding our guys. They weren't guarding Magnuson. They were not guarding Sebastian Hartman on the outside. They were putting one of their bigs. I can't remember what big it was. I believe it would have been Jordan Louis. They were either putting Alex Chu, or Louis on one of either Hartman or Magnuson or Luan Watts, guys who, they're not shooters. They're not guys that typically will shoot threes. So they were just sagging them off into the paint. They weren't guarding anyone really. They were technically matched up with Magnuson. If he drove, they would come up and guard him, but they didn't guard him anywhere near outside about the free throw line. They were not even coming close within 15 feet of him. There was a few times where Ellis Magnuson had the ball with no one within 15 feet of him, and he did not shoot the ball. And I understand that he's not a shooter. That's not his game. And he was able to make a few plays off of that situation, forcing Weber to be in bad rotations and stuff like that. But if you're a Division I player and you can't knock down a shot with no one within 15 feet of you, you can't play. Like that. That's the situation. Magnuson is great. Great defender. Awesome defender. He's a great passer. Excellent passer. One of the best passers in the Big Sky. He is an awesome rebounder for a guard. He typically gets 5-ish rebounds a game. But if you can't knock down that shot, it just becomes a huge liability because Eastern's offensive scheme is so reliant on getting the ball inside, especially if the shots aren't falling, to where it just becomes a liability to have him on the floor. And, technically Hartman was kind of that same thing. They did the same thing to Sebastian Hartman, but Hartman doesn't get mismatched the way that Magnuson can on the defensive end. And so it was tough. It was really tough. Magnuson had a tough first half. Again, he made a few nice plays, but he just kind of became a little bit of a liability in this game. And it was really, really tough to say because we as Eastern fans love Ellis Magnuson. We all love Ellis Magnuson. He's the Eastern leader in games played. We love the guy. Who doesn't love a shorter offensive guy? He's a Idaho kid. a guy that we all love to root for, but he became the liability. Just looking at the box score, he went 0 for 4, 0 for 2. And I hate singling out single players, but that was a big point in this game that was tough because it just allowed Weber State to have an extra big man in the paint because we couldn't score there. And what what's tough about this situation is Eastern doesn't really have another true guard. Um, Point guard anyways. Magnuson really is the point guard. He's the main ball handler. He's probably the best ball handler we have on the team. Jake Kyman's technically a guard, um, but he doesn't really like bring the ball up the floor. He's not really like a pass first guard necessarily at all. Um, Other than that, the only other one, the only other real guard on this team is Mason Williams, freshman Mason Williams, who has been out with an injury the last 2-3 weeks, and I mean, we've heard nothing about Mason Williams' injury, but that's what this team is missing is another Mason Williams, another shooter on the outside that can consistently knock down a shot with no one within 15 feet of them, but we need another ball handler in the backcourt because there's two solutions to beating this Eastern offense. If they're not if they're excuse me, if they are not hitting shots from outside, you can just sag off of A, Sebastian Hartman, B, Ellis Magnuson, or C, Luan Watts. One of them is going to be on the floor almost at all times. They will sag a big man off of one of those three guys and pack the paint and make it really tough sledding, make Eastern make tough mid-range to outer shots. B, teams will press the heck out of Eastern because they will take a Magnuson off the floor, one of their main ball handlers, and now we don't really have a true ball handler on the court anymore. And when they press that Eastern turns the ball over a ton. So it's kind of become a tough situation offensively because we don't really have that shooting guard. We're missing a guy like a Steele Venners. Obviously, Steele Venners is an excellent player, and I'm not saying that one of our players needs to be the next Steele Venners, but Kyman was the guy that was coming in to be that guy, and he's been that guy. He did hit 5 threes in this game. He's been excellent. He was led this game in scoring 19 points. But not having more of a shoot first guard or an off the dribble guard or someone that's better off the dribble has been a little tough. And it's presented issues offensively for this Eastern Washington team. I do want to say, Luan Watts dealing with that whole sag off pressure that Weber State was doing, where they would just, play their big on one of these guys and play them in the paint. They were not guarding Luan Watts on the 3-point line at all. Luan Watts had a nice game. He had 15 points. He shot 6 for 11. He shot 3 threes and missed all 3 of those threes, but he had a nice game. He had 6 rebounds to go along with his 15 points. He had 3 steals. He had 2 block shots. He had a nice alley-oop dunk. Very, very nice performance from Luan Watts dealing with that weird defense. Same with Sebastian Hartman. He only had 6 points, but oh my goodness. Sebastian Hartman had one of the best posterizer dunks I've ever seen watching a game live. I was watching the game on my phone in Moscow. I had the Idaho State matchup game, and oh my goodness, I lost my mind. I was sitting next to 2 or 3 people, and they were like, "What is going on? Why are you freaking out?" And I show them the replay, and they're like, "Okay, I get it." Sebastian Hartman, out of nowhere, he shot one of those wide open threes because they weren't guarding him on 3-point line, missed it. Watts got an awesome offensive rebound, kicked it over to Sebastian Hartman, and he just absolutely posterized, I believe it was Alex Chu of Weber State. Amazing play. I will try to add a clip into this because, oh my goodness, that was one of the best plays I've ever seen at the Eastern Washington uniform. But, man, this one was tough to lose, especially with the way that Eastern was able to rally back in that second half. Just going over some quick box score stuff. Jake Kyman, 19 points. He also had 3 assists, 3 rebounds. He really came alive in that second half. He was a consistent scorer most of this game. The second part of the first half, he didn't really make any noise, but late in this game and early in this game, he was able to make some noise. Cedric Howard had 13 points. He had a solid performance, but he had one of his tougher defensive games. He was just a beat slow in a couple of rotations, allowing Weber State to hit some open threes. But it again, it wasn't like this piss poor, awful defensive showing that, we're leaving players open all the time. We're giving them easy layups all the time. It was just they were better. They were hitting everything. Any little error, they were making you pay tonight. And that happens sometimes. Um, Ethan Price had 9 points. He had a tougher game offensively again. He had it felt like he had a lot of turnovers, a lot of really crappy shots that were just kind of thrown up at the rim, expecting a foul. He had 9 points. He had 3 rebounds, 3 for 7 from the field. Not what we like to see from a big man like him, but he'll bounce back. Casey Jones had his 8 points, 5 of them coming from the free throw line. He did hit 1 3 late that brought it within 4 points, but there was only 12 seconds left at that point. He had 3 rebounds as well, 3 assists. Magnuson had 4 assists in this game. He had a couple of nice plays, but he's gotta be able to score, and he's able to do that versus Idaho State, who did something similar to him, but when he can't hit a three-pointer, he just becomes a little bit of a liability. And I think David Riley realized that because Ellis Magnuson only played 16 minutes in this game. But yeah, I feel horrible for him because I want him to play. I want him to succeed. He had an awesome couple of games versus Idaho State and versus Idaho. And then this Weber State game was really, really tough for him. He also had 2 turnovers that were, tough. But hey, we love Ellis Magnuson. We want him to succeed. We just need him to knock down a couple shots from outside. Luan Watts, like I already hit on, he had an awesome game. Really fun to watch him. Dane Erikstrup had a solid game too. He got to the free throw line a ton, as he typically does. He had a weird technical foul situation where basically he was running down the court, and Dillon Jones loves to do this thing where he's running back either on defense or on offense, and then he just stops when someone is in front of him / behind him. He'll just stop so that player runs over him. And he does that to draw a foul. Well, what happened is Erikstrup running down with his head turned on offense, turned towards a ball handler who's behind him. He's running towards the basket, and then it looked like Dillon Jones just stopped, trying to get ran over by Erikstrup. Erikstrup, of course, kind of runs him over, but he didn't put his shoulder down and run. He was trying to avoid him. They both fell over. They called the foul, rightfully, on Dillon Jones. And then there was some chatter between the two. Dillon Jones is one that likes to talk. Erikstrup has a little bit of attitude. And apparently Erikstrup said something. He got teed up. It was a weird situation where Dillon Jones got to shoot 2 free throws for the technical. Then we shot 2 free throws for the foul, and then they got the ball. It was a very weird sequence of events. But anyways, it's not that important. He had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 8 of which coming from the free throw line. Solid game. Already hit on Hartman, his amazing posterizer dunk. He also hit a 3 that really Sebastian Hartman's little run in the middle part of the second half is kind of part of what catalyzed this thing back to getting to a tie game at 78-ish apiece. Coward hit a couple of threes that late in that game that were really big that got it close. But like I said, Weber's just too good offensively. Dillon Jones had 30 points on 50% from field goal from the floor. He had 8 rebounds as well as 8 assists. Dude was lights out that today. He is. Oh, I hate saying this, but I hate Dillon Jones, dude. It's so frustrating to watch this dude because he just keeps scoring and it doesn't feel like he's dominating the game. And then you look at the box score and it's like, oh, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He has 30 points. Oh, yep. Dillon Jones freaking dominated this game again. But honestly, Eastern played some really nice defense on Dillon Jones. He's such a tough matchup guy, being 6'8", and being so quick and able to drive. Casey Jones played some awesome defense on him. He was just hitting shots that were amazing. He was just amazing. Steven Verplanken for Weber State also was just lights out, especially from 3. He hit 4 threes in this game. He was 7 for 12 from field goal from the floor. He had a rebound, 1 assist. He also had a steal. He hit a ton of threes in this game. Blaze Threet also hit a couple of threes, both of them contested threes, tough looks, but hit 2 threes. Dyson Kohler hit 2 threes. He's typically not like a big time shooter necessarily. He kind of does, but Dyson Kohler typically is more of a rebounding and defense type of guy. He hit 2 threes. He went 5 for 9 from the floor. He had a nice game offensively. Blaze Threet had 4 rebounds as well as 3 assists. I shouldn't mention there. 15 points, 12 points for Dyson Kohler. Only 4 points for Alex Chu, which was good to see. The interior defense was nice tonight. Like I said, it wasn't like they're getting open looks. They were just hitting everything from outside, man. lights out. KJ Cunningham came off the bench for Weber State and was lights out as well. He hit 2 threes, 2 big 3s late in the game. He had 11 points. He had an assist, a rebound. Just a frustrating one to lose, man. Jordan Louis came in for them and played some good defense at the end. Vartianen, he's typically a 3-point shooter, but he didn't really play a ton in this one. But man, this one was just tough to lose. Not mad, just disappointing one to lose. One that felt like we had there. We should have been able to win this one if we shoot a little bit better in that first half. This game is anyone's game. Oh man, I cannot wait for Boise. I really hope we get to play Weber State again because this would be an amazing matchup in the Big Sky tournament. But yep, that's about all we got. Hitting on the offense also, like I'm happy to see only 10 turnovers in this one. I know it's a loss and it's a tough loss, but I feel like this team has grown so much on the turnover side of things. Only 10 turnovers tonight. You know, the last 3 games, I think 3 of the last 4 games have been nice performances turnover wise, limiting the turnovers, not turning the ball over 15, 16 times. And very happy to see that. But yeah, I think that's kind of all we got for this recap today. Man, tough one to lose. Really wish we could have grabbed that one, but it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Man, really, really hope we can beat Weber State in the Big Sky tournament. Looking forward to next week. Well, I guess I should look at the standings here. Eastern remains in first place. They're still 2 games ahead of Northern Colorado, who will be coming to Cheney next week. This is a good transition to kind of Eastern's opponents next week. Northern Arizona and Northern Colorado. Excuse me, I said UNC is coming to Cheney. I was wrong. Eastern is going on a road trip to NAU in Northern Colorado. Excuse me for that misspeak moment, but Eastern has a road trip to Northern Arizona on Thursday and then Northern Colorado on Saturday. Both should be kind of tough, kind of a tough road trip. NAU is always tough to play at. They got us in the tournament last year. This is a game that Eastern should win, but preview on that will be coming later this week, as well as Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado, one of the best offensive teams in the league. We should be interesting to see how Eastern matches up with them on the road. I really, really would like to see a win in this one. Okay. I think that is pretty much all we got for Eagles Power Hour today. Thank you guys for watching. A fun weekend. Nice to see the ladies get a sweep against 2 solid Big Sky teams. The men's, they got, snuck one by Idaho State, who gave us a run for our money, and then just lost one to Weber State, who was just absolutely lights out shooting that full game. They really did everything they needed to do to be able to beat this Eastern Washington team, and they got lucky with Eastern shooting bad, and that's what we saw in this one. Tough loss for the Eagle men, but hey, sights forward. You got 2 tough opponents this week. NAU, a game that Eastern should win. The men, big games this weekend for both the men and the women. Big game at Northern Colorado on Saturday. Big game versus NAU on Thursday for the women. Really, really big games. Those both are number 1 versus number 2 in the Big Sky. Looking at the standings and stuff like that. So those are games to get to watch. Keep an eye on. As well as the Northern Colorado women are really good. 2 tough matchups for the Eagle women this week. Should be a big week. Would be awesome if they could get Jacinta Buckley back. But hey, if not, they're gonna have to do what they can do, and I got faith that they're gonna be able to do it. Okay, I think that's all we got for Eagles Power Hour today. Thank you guys all so much for listening. Like I hit on earlier in the video, Eagles Power now on Instagram. Follow that. Eagles Power Hour also. I guess it's more of a me thing, but I have started a class of 2025 football recruit tracker. Definitely recommend checking that out. It is something like 75 players deep already. Tracking recruits that Eastern is sending interest letters to, sending offers to, and all that jazz. Really fun to keep up with Eagle recruiting, kind of see how the whole landscape falls. These last 2 recruiting classes have been really fun, so I'm really hoping for another good one this year. But yeah, hopefully we should be having some more special guests, more football-centric special guests coming here in the next couple of weeks. So think that is all we got for Eagles Power Hour today, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Get to Reese. Get to your TV to watch the men on Saturday. Should be some really, really fun matchups. Okay, that's all we got. Thanks you guys for listening, and go Eagles.